We only decide for ourselves कि हम कर नहीं पाते. There is nothing that anybody out here in this room cannot do. If you think you can move mountains, you can do anything. There are paraplegics who climb mountains. There are blind people who climb the Everest. There is nothing that we can't do. It's our own self. We need to tell ourselves, we need to be firm about it, that we can do it and we will do it and we shall do it. Yes, and how do we go about it? So this is Ishwar, this was Ishwar Pranidhana. So these are the first two steps in yoga. Then we come to asanas. Now asanas are also very, very important. Why? Keeping yourself fit. We need to give ourselves some time every day. Maybe 15 minutes he sahi in a busy schedule. You need to give yourself some time. You need to be healthy if you're going to take care of your families, yes? Maybe a walk of at least 25 to 40 minutes is a must, and that too brisk walking. Maybe 10-15 minutes of yoga every day, asanas, and some kind of breathing, pranayama is very, very important. Exercise is very important. God has given us a beautiful body, and it is our duty to maintain it. We can't just let it go. But is it enough? Just 10-15 minutes of yoga may not be enough. You have to think you're fit. You visualize yourself you're fit. And you have to be active through the day. You know, there are many people who do go for a morning walk. And then the rest of the day it's not much. A person who is burning up calories must burn up calories through the day. Yes, and how do you do it? You're always moving, you're always doing things. You know, people who are in that kind, generally those kind of people don't put on weight. Because they're always active, they always think. Active mentally, active physically. So you have to be on your feet. They say, where you can stand, don't sit. Where you can walk, don't stand. And where you can run, don't. Now, obviously this has to be taken with a pinch of salt. Because if you're in your 20s, you can run. At the age of 60, nobody's asking you should run. But it has to be taken with discretion. 1, 2 is you have to listen to your body. When doing asanas, we don't look at our neighbor and do asanas. Oh wow, she can stand on her head. Can I? I've never done it before. I might get a crick in my neck. You know, I might harm myself. So you have to look at your body, listen to your body at all times. You know, if you listen to your body talks to you all the time. But our problem in life is we don't listen. Very often a lot of people do yoga watching television, no problem there. But it can be dangerous. You know, that could be dangerous. Especially with pranayama. Don't go beyond what you can do. Because that fellow who's sitting and doing it there has been doing it for the last 40 years. Yeah, since the time he was 5 or whatever, he's been doing it. You haven't. You can't do that in a day's time. So you have to be careful with your body. Listen to your body. Stretch it to its utmost, yes. Don't be lazy. I'm not encouraging laziness, but think, listen to your body and do those things. Yoga, when you learn, it's always better that you learn from a proper, good yoga institute. And there are good institutes in Bombay, and there must be in Bangalore as well, I'm sure. Anyway, you have somebody at home. But wherever it is, learn from a person rather than trying to learn from a book or from the television screen, because there's somebody, at least for a month or something, somebody to tell you where you are going wrong if you're going wrong. Once you've learned, you do it on your own, but listen to your body at all times. Even if you do it on, following the TV, okay. But use restraint and listen to your body. Okay? So like we said, the third step was yogasanas, yes. But you don't follow your neighbor. We always keep our eyes closed and we do the asanas. So we do it to the best of our ability. Now this is one of the most important things which you should do on a daily basis. There is nothing like yoga and there's nothing like walking. Yes, there are other things also. For a lady who's approaching 40, 50, 60, menopausal, osteoporosis becomes a major thing. Weights also become important. Now weights could be your own body weight or it could be some small weights. Small weights could be as simple as this to begin with. Even a small bottle of water becomes weight. But you need to again do it under supervision. Initially when you do it, join a gym. Get somebody good to explain to you how to do something. And by weights, what you're doing is you're strengthening up your muscles, you're strengthening up your bones. And this is a very, very important thing. So pranayam is the fourth thing. Pranayam, they say, is the bridge which takes you to the higher state of life. And it is an extremely important mantra as such. The beginning of pranayam is simple breathing practices. Be able to breathe in deeply, breathe out in a correct fashion. Now this is extremely important to get, first and foremost, to get rid of your toxins, to get your body into the correct breathing mode. Another thing very important is how do you sit, how do you stand? Your sitting posture, is it correct? You know, more often than not we are slouching. The back has to be straight, shoulders have to be back. Even when you're doing these things, if you're planning to do breathing practices, planning to do pranayam, you should always have your shoulders back, the back is straight. Only in that position is this whole thing open to receive a lot of air. Now, pranayam is not only air, it goes further than that. Prana is a life force. Yes, it's not just oxygen. But in common parlance, initial stages anyway, it's simple, ordinary, good breathing, whereby you can infuse your lungs with a lot of oxygen. But as you go further, it becomes deeper. And pranayams can really get rid of a lot of diseases if done properly. But if not done properly, it can even harm you. After pranayams in yoga is, are the higher practices which we don't really need to get into right now. It's pratyahar and dharana and dhyan and samadhi, which are at a much higher level. But for day-to-day practice, it's not terribly important for us right now. Meditation. What is meditation? All of us need to do a bit of meditation, like I said. 10 minutes of your day, every day, with your eyes shut. Keep some 10 minutes for yourself where you just look within. Yes? So pratyahar is the next step. That is to withdraw yourself from the surroundings and try to go within. Then comes dharana, dhyan and samadhi, which are much higher stages, which I don't think come within the purview of this. Yes? So these things are extremely, extremely important. So for following a yogic way of life, these are some of the things. But it's not only this. So what did we talk about? We talked about yamas, your actions, day-to-day action, with people around you, your thoughts, your conduct on a day-to-day basis. We talked about niyamas, which are meant for yourself. Yes, saucha, santosha, tapa, swadhyaya, swa-adhyaya, and we talked about Ishwar Pranidhan, having faith. Having faith in him and having faith in yourself. Have 100% faith in yourself and you can do anything. And that is what women really need today. We need faith in ourselves. It's so easy to be shaken. Very often, unfortunately, sorry there, but very often, men are not always secure. Sometimes there are some insecure men too, whether it's at your workplace or at home, who could cause that confidence in you to come down a bit. So you need to have that confidence, you need to have that thing within that you are strong. That you can move mountains, you have all those capacities within you. Only then will you be able to stand absolutely solid, helping both yourself and your family. So having total faith in yourself is extremely important. So mentally, physically, emotionally, you have to be a strong person. Along with this, what do? Food, we come to health. What you eat is what you are. You are what you eat. So food is an extremely important component of a human being. So certain things you should not eat. There are things you must eat. Do we mean you follow some particular diet or the other? Not necessarily. You can eat everything in life. Just be a little discreet and don't overdo eating the wrong kind of food. But there's certain prescriptions in both yoga and Ayurveda and whatever which need to be followed. One of the main things that we talk about in yoga is when you eat, don't eat too much at one time. The modern concept is eat more in the morning, breakfast like a king, and you sup like a pauper. So at the end of the day, at night, please do not fill yourself with too much of food. The Jains, for example, eat before sunset. A lot of us might find it very difficult because most people don't even reach home by then. They just get out of the office around sunset. By the time the poor things reach home, otherwise they'll have to give up food. So it's all right. So if you eat a little late, you sleep a little late. But sleep is also very important. So that also has to be balanced. There must be a certain amount of time gap, and the amount of food you eat at night must automatically be a little less. It's difficult because most people have some kind of lunch in office and they like to have a proper dinner at night. So either we eat it early or we go a little light. If you have 2 chapatis, have just 1. If you have so much of rice, have half of it, whatever it is. In such a manner that if the stomach is a round ball like this, fill only half of it with food. Never eat till you're up to here with food. 1/4 of the stomach to be filled with water and 1/4 always with air. Also, when you begin eating, always start off with some salads maybe. Eat the salad first so that you are filling your stomach with the good stuff. And eat slowly, masticating everything, properly chew everything. Whenever food comes in front of us, what do we need to do? In the olden day, the tradition was, whether you were from India or from some other country, always thank God for the food. People said a grace. Not only to God who's given us the food, so think about the poor farmer, whoever the lady of the house is who's prepared it, all that has gone into your food. And then when you eat the food, after blessing it and thinking about it, it obviously is going to give you more nutrient. You're going to be able to take much more out of it. Eat it slowly, enjoying every little bit. When you eat slowly, what happens is the message slowly goes up. It takes time for the message to reach up. By the time the message reaches up, you feel full. What happens when you're gobbling very fast? By the time it reaches here, you already have really filled yourself till here, and it's too late for the brain to tell you you've overeaten. When you eat slowly, the brain sends the message down to you enough. But it's only when you eat slowly that you get the message. When you gobble up the food, the brain doesn't have enough time to be able to tell you. And then what happens when too much is eaten, the food doesn't get digested. The juices in the stomach cannot act upon so much. They only act upon the surface, superficial food. Baki ka food jo hai remains undigested inside the stomach and doesn't get digested. So, less food, only half the stomach to be filled with food, 1/4 of it with water and 1/4 to be kept khali. Now, another thing that we talk about is, a lot of people will eat fruit after a meal, which is again not a right concept. You must eat a fruit, begin your day with a fruit 1 or 2 hours before you actually have your dinner when you're really, really hungry, rather than having a sev puri or what have you, on the road or whatever. It would make more sense carrying an apple or a banana and having it. 1 hour before your proper meal, eat the fruit. It is properly digested. When you put that food on top of all that food that you have eaten, it just sits atop. That fruit doesn't act upon the body. By the time it actually gets digested, after God only knows how many hours, because so much food can't get digested at one time,